Hello, dear colleagues. This is Jelani again from New York. I hope you had a chance to watch my previous presentation on artificial intelligence, especially Cheat GPT. I call it Cheat GPT. I know it's Chat GPT. But today I want to talk to you about plagiarism, which has become a serious concern. This is not new, but in the past, students used to just copy and paste from a secondary source. But now, all thanks to Cheat GPT, they just simply have artificial intelligence generate their papers and they submit them as their own. So this is serious because this is a blatant act of academic dishonesty. And I thought it would be important to discuss this issue with you. So with no further delay, let's just start. So today I want to cover plagiarism, what it is, and why it matters to us educators. We will also discuss different types of plagiarism and some strategies that students may employ, with your assistance, of course, to avoid plagiarism, and how we maintain academic integrity in the classroom. And there are consequences of plagiarism, depending on, just a quick note, depending on the culture the students are from, they may not realize how serious plagiarism is and that there are consequences, especially in US colleges and universities. So what is plagiarism? Plagiarism is stealing ideas. I know that's a strong word, but stealing ideas from other people, their work, without acknowledging the source, without telling the reader that this idea has been taken from somebody else. In certain cases, just copying text or data without acknowledging the source, paraphrasing, so maybe changing things a little bit, using a synonym for a word or two to make it appear like it's the original work, and submitting others' works as your own, in this case, the students. But before I move on, I want to share something very useful information with you. There is a Professor Gordon Harvey at Harvard University who has written a guide. It's called Writing with Sources. So I have included a link for you. So you can just click on the link and then read the guide, and the whole guide is there. Misusing sources is chapter 3, I think. You will find this very useful for your own reference. Okay, so there are different types of plagiarism. The most common one is direct plagiarism. Just copying and pasting, which is easy, with technology, it's easy to do. Self-plagiarism, and this is interesting because students may not even realize, sometimes they use their own past work, verbatim, word for word, and they just present it as their own. And I said, you're plagiarizing yourself. The third type, mosaic plagiarism, is taking an original text and just mixing it up with, different phrases and to make it appear like original work. And accidental plagiarism, which is also called innocent plagiarism, is that the student's intention was honest, but they just, maybe in a rush, they're writing in a tearing rush, they just forgot to mention the source. But it's still, nevertheless, this is still plagiarism. Okay, so what are the consequences of plagiarism? What could happen to a student who is found guilty of plagiarizing? They can get an F grade, or for the assignment they can get an F grade, or if they continue to plagiarize, then they may get an F grade for the course. In certain cases, the students may be expelled, suspended or expelled from college, and also they lose credibility because once you find a student plagiarizing, then you become suspicious. You keep asking yourself this question: is this original? And of course, it's unethical, right? Because plagiarism is a breach of trust and integrity. Okay, what are some examples of plagiarism? Students copy a paragraph from a website, or they submit someone else's essay, maybe a classmate, or even from a website, or using statistics without mentioning the source. And this is a very common error that even my students, when they write an English 101 essay, they make. They don't tell the reader the page number or the source where they got the data from. And as I said, another example is ChatGPT. Just a totally AI generated essay. They just put their names on it and they submit it as their own work. Okay, so let's look at these two examples. If you have, as an English teacher, if you have experienced the same issue with your students, just show them these two examples. The first one is the moon is a satellite of Earth. So that's an original sentence. And the second one is plagiarized. And see how cleverly the moon is Earth's satellite. So what the student has done pretty much is just rearranged the sentence, the words. This is very useful for you as a reference. On the left side, you see, the left column, you see original work. And then the plagiarized version is in the right column. So the first may be broadly described as the popular discourse that derives its philosophic approach principally from Gandhi, and so on and so forth. And the plagiarized version, see how clever this is. The first may be broadly described as the popular discourse, period. And the students think that derives its philosophical. I can just start a new sentence and it derives its philosophical inspiration. So that is a clear example of plagiarism. Okay, so how do we avoid plagiarism? Well, students may need to learn how to incorporate in-text citations and follow the MLA documentation rules. Reference list is actually an MLA in humanities. It's called works cited. It's no longer references. But they can keep track of sources doing research, maybe using index cards if they find a secondary source or they want to refer to it or cite. Keep an index card or index cards, rather, more than one, secondary sources. Paraphrase correctly without changing meaning. And I have a whole different lesson on paraphrasing correctly. Two quick things, just the student who paraphrases must retain meaning of the author, but she or he must change the language. Verify originality with plagiarism detection tools. So I do this all the time. I think it's zerogpt.com. That's a plagiarism detection tool online that you can use. Cut and paste the student's suspicious looking, that one that you think is plagiarized, and cut and paste the text, and then it will do a scan and it will show you if it was plagiarized or not. Citation basics. Common citation styles, APA, MLA, and Chicago. I think if wherever you are, if you're teaching English, then you're asking your students to write works cited rather than references. References is written in APA, I think. I'll also show them examples of in-text citations and bibliographies. Zotero and EndNote, these are all online sites, websites that generate the works cited page for students. All they have to do is just type in the keywords, the author's name, and a couple of words from the article, and then it finds the article online and generates the works cited page. Okay, so you can also, to get them into the habit of paraphrasing, you can just do a little practice for 15 minutes or so. Ask them to either paraphrase just one single sentence or maybe a short passage or a paragraph, so they can practice paraphrasing, making sure that they're not changing the meaning but altering the language completely. Okay, so give them this quiz. I haven't given them any answers, so just ask them to read all 6 statements and tell you that one is true or false. Okay? So I have given the answers, but don't show it to them until they've completed the exercise. Okay, so there are, as I said before, it's ZeroGPT, there's Zotero, there's Mendeley. So there are Turnitin is also very popular, at least here in New York at most colleges. Grammarly is very popular. People know what Grammarly is. So these tools, they can use to avoid plagiarism and not copy and paste. Okay? So why is it important? They may not understand. As I said before, in certain cultures, countries, if you will, plagiarism is sort of acceptable because it isn't how the work is done, but professors care more about what is done. So if a paper is written, submitted on or before the deadline, it's acceptable. So students coming from those backgrounds may not understand how unethical plagiarism is. It's an act of dishonesty, and it does not respect intellectual property. So perhaps you can go over these very important issues and explain to them why academic honesty is so important in U.S., or not just U.S., but colleges and universities around the world. Earlier I mentioned Gordon Harvey, and I always use his quotation or his statement, which is really admirable. He says that plagiarism is like a person going to a party with a baby, a week-old baby, and claiming to be her biological father or mother, and the baby is actually kidnapped. So this person kidnaps a baby and then socializes with people and says, look at my daughter, she's 1 week old, her name is Janice, for example. And so words are powerless in that sense. They cannot dispute the claim. They cannot say, he didn't write me, I was written by somebody else. So I think that's a serious issue, and the analogy is really great. Students understand finally that, okay, when I plagiarize, it's an act of kidnapping someone. In fact, the word plagiarize is derived from Latin plagiar, which means a kidnapper. So let's summarize quickly. It's important for students to understand what plagiarism is and what the different types of plagiarism are. They also need to paraphrase, master the skill of reading an original passage, and then paraphrase, and then cite sources correctly. They can also utilize tools and follow ethical guidelines to make sure that they're not plagiarizing, that they're submitting their original work. And what's your call to action as teachers of English? That you make sure that they pledge to practice academic integrity and avoid plagiarism. And please share this knowledge with peers, with whoever your friends or colleagues in other institutions also. Please share this presentation with them. And I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you will have some feedback and some suggestions for more presentations, because I have lots of materials that I want to share with you. But for today, it's just plagiarism. That was the focus. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing from you, maybe your comments. Thank you very much.